Hello and welcome into another edition of Melton Talks Movies. I'm Assistant News Director for Talk 99.5, Tim Melton. I'm here with the host of the Richard Dixon Show. What's your name again?
Richard Dixon.
Richard Dixon, that would be it. Richard, we went and saw Star Trek Beyond last night. Now this is the third entry in what would be considered the J.J. Abrams series. Even though he wasn't the director on this, he still had a big hand in this third installment coming to theaters.
Had significantly fewer lens flares. And
Yes,
I
I noticed that.
those, as a matter of fact. First thing I got to tell you, this guy knows how to pick a seat at the movies, okay? I show up and he's already perfectly positioned. He's at just the right level, right? And almost in the middle. It's like if you owned a movie theater, he picked exactly where you would sit for each and every movie. So that was impressive in and of itself.
I know what I'm doing. Once you get in there and the crowd's already pretty much filled up a lot of the rows, you don't have many options. So I'm glad that he's given me credit for that, but it was really the fact that it had already filled up to a point. We had a pretty good crowd here with us.
Surprisingly,
watching it opening night. I
Opening
thought so.
night.
More than was in Ghostbusters.
Well, there's a good reason for that.
Yes. All right, so let's get right into Star Trek Beyond. I'm a big fan of the first two. A lot of people worry about in trilogies that the third one is the most lackluster of the group. And with this series, I would agree with that. I don't think this movie is as good as the other two. That being said, it's a darn good movie. I think it's very solid, and if you look at it more as an episode in a series rather than the conclusion of a trilogy or the third installment of a mega franchise, you'll enjoy it that much more. That's my opinion.
He's a complete idiot. Everything about this movie is spectacular. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything. Here's what I love about this. The second movie was full of a lot of inside references to the series. If you didn't see the series, if you didn't watch the series, you missed a lot of Star Trek Into Darkness because there was a lot of sly little asides and insides. This movie has none of that, and it is all the better for it, in my opinion. It's very much like an episode of the old Star Trek series in that it's not about the characters. It's taking characters that you know and love and putting them into a story. It's got a bad guy, it's got vengeance, it's got hot chicks, it's got a lot of action, It's got Kirk and Spock having to outsmart somebody who is outgunning them, outmanning them, and outthinking them at every turn. It's a classic Star Trek episode, which if you didn't grow up watching that, then you can't possibly understand.
Richard, did you hear what I just said? I said if you look at it as an episode...
You said you hated the film, you said you hated it, you said no one should go see it. That's what I heard.
Lie!
What?
This is a lie.
What?
Play it back, you'll see what happened. But no, I'm just saying this is, in my opinion, the least memorable of the three. But if you go in looking at it as just another episode in the series, you'll have more fun with it than if you build up the expectations that this is going to be better than the first and second one. You would agree the first one's the best in the series, the J.J. Abrams
No question
reboot,
about it.
right?
I adore the first one, and I love the second one. I think this one's a little better than the second one, frankly. I like number 3 better than number 2. That's just me.
I can see that argument, but I feel like the second one had more memorable moments compared to this one.
I would even concede that. There were memorable moments in that. April Eve taking off her clothes in the back of it. What was that her name?
There you go.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm happy that you remember that being from the second movie. But
an epic scene.
let's focus on Beyond. I'm not a big fan of the name. That's probably my biggest downside with the movie, Star Trek Beyond. I don't like the name.
Seriously? You're
Seriously.
going to pick on the name of the movie?
Pick on the name, but I'm not going to stay on that because we're getting short and sweet and to the point, and you need to know what's important about this movie. It sets up at the beginning each character's motivations and where they are very well. That's the first act of the movie. Kirk is questioning his legacy as a captain. Spock is questioning his personal relationships. And Bones is just annoyed by everybody. This movie is the quintessential Dr. Bones movie. If you are a fan of Bones, this is the movie for you.
Carl Urban is channeling DeForest Kelley. He's doing a fantastic job of playing that particular role. There is a moment of sadness where Zachary Quinto is involved, and I don't want to give you a spoiler alert, but they have a nice homage to the previous cast at one point during the film, and it's a great scene. It's also a little bit sad in that Anton Yelchin recently was tragically killed in a freak accident, and so you realize this is the last time you're going to see him in the role of Chekhov, and he's so good in that role. This cast works together so well in recreating these characters that people my age grew up loving, and I have zero complaints about these guys. They did just an epic job.
I agree with you. It really pulls from real life drama and emotion surrounding events that have happened throughout the year with the cast involved in Star Trek. It really tugs at the heartstring, and I think it was done in a very respectful way. Would you agree? It wasn't exploitation.
Absolutely. There was a lot more action in this movie than I thought there was going to be. And I mean, chasing, fighting, shooting, flying.
You got to remember, the director of this movie is not J.J. Abrams, it's Justin Lin from the Fast and Furious series, and that guy knows how to do action. I'll give him that. I thought some of the fight scenes were a little bit too close for me.
I agree.
They were a little bit muddled, and you didn't really get scope of the importance of the fight because they were shot so close.
If you're watching a fight scene and you're going, what's going on? Something went wrong, you know? So,
Yeah.
and there's a couple of times where you do that, where you're like, I can't tell who's hitting who here.
Overall, the cinematography in this movie is outstanding. You really get some beautiful shots, especially of this beauty right here, the USS Enterprise. It's almost a character upon itself in the film. We did not see it in 3D. We saw it in standard 2D. I still got nauseous 2 or 3 times with some of the twisting of the lens and twisting of the camera. Did you ever see yourself having to kind of look away from the screen because of the amounts of twisting and underturning and turning around and upside down? And it was just painful for me to watch.
I didn't have that problem.
What would you say is the weakest point of the movie?
The weakest point in the movie. I'm not sure that there is a weak point in the
Okay,
movie.
then that can be your answer right
I like
there.
the whole movie from start to finish. I didn't find any point that I just went like, oh, this was superfluous. I thought it was great.
Well, I was worried that the villain was going to be a one-note, typical, standard, stereotypical villain. And I'm happy to report that's not the case. This villain has some layers to him that I didn't quite expect going into the movie, but I'm happy they went there. I thought it really helped the third act have a little bit more significance to it.
Idris Elba is a great actor, and he plays the role very well. But that being said, you never forget that this is a space soap opera, and that the motivations for almost everyone are going to be somewhat two-dimensional. And in his case, they were 2.5-dimensional. Still better than Khan. Still better than Khan.
Yeah.
Gotta give him props for that.
And Jayla, a new character added to the series here above my head, she was interesting. She had some great motivations. Whoever played her, I'm not even quite sure, is going to be a breakout star and get some more roles in the future because her quest for vengeance is one of the dynamic turning points of the film where she meets up with Scotty and they have a great interaction. So all the new characters, I think, really hit a home run. So let's give our grade for Star Trek Beyond. What would you say is your letter grade for Star Trek Beyond?
I give it an A. I give it 2 A's.
Okay,
I
2
give
A's.
it a double A plus.
Double A.
3 A's.
3
It's
A's.
it's
now.
a battery of a
We
movie.
continue to go up.
Yes.
I'm going to give this movie a B minus, simply because, once again, solid movie. That's not a bad grade. It is a solid movie. It's not very memorable. It goes through the paces. It's, Simon Pegg, probably the best writing performance of the year. Not only is he engineering the USS Enterprise, he's engineering the script to perfection. I thought the script was on par with anything we've seen that would rank in one of the top 5 scripts of the year. But once again, a B minus. It's just, it exists. It's not going to pull new fans into the franchise, I don't think. It's just a solid base hit.
I give your grade a D.
Okay. Well,
your
you know
grading of the movie, I give your grade a D.
I look
How
forward
about
to
that?
more movie reviews with Richard Dixon right here. Richard, thank you so much for being with me, and maybe we can go see Star Trek 4 when it comes out.
I can't wait.
All right, hopefully it comes up with a better name than Beyond.